welcome to Keep Britain Biking by Devitt Insurance, and this will no doubt be on the YouTube channel. How do you consume YouTube, Rob? Are you a regular man on there?
I'm a middle-aged man. I kind of sometimes go on there. I watch a lot of niche stuff on there, and that's not...
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen, niche stuff.
It was YouTube, you said, wasn't it? Yeah, okay, maybe not.
Yeah.
No, I watch a lot of trials riding on there and bits and pieces. It's good for that. It's good for the minority stuff.
Yeah, the kids are on it non-stop, actually.
Yeah, constantly.
So imagine if we were riding some bikes which were suitable for kids.
What are these?
Whoa! Whoa. That just came from nowhere there, didn't it?
It did. That was like ad hoc, kind of like ad-libbing and everything. That was really good.
Right, we've got two bikes here. Now, last time we were here, we had big, fancy, powerful litre bikes, didn't we? We had the Yamaha MT10 and the Aprilia RS34 Tonal, and they were crackers, I think we can all
It's
agree.
fair to say we've been having a bit of fun. We had the adventure bikes, big adventure bikes, we've had the big naked bikes, but we're going to keep it real, aren't we?
Well, these are very, very important machines. We've got the Kawasaki Ninja 400 and the Yamaha R3, and they're both in that A2 licence category.
So it's sort of like a gateway drug, aren't they?
Yeah, you've passed your test, so you're not stuck on a moped or a 125, but unless you're at a certain age, the law still keeps ranging in a wee bit.
Yeah, you're limited on power, aren't you? You're limited on, and then the insurance costs are going to be high, unless you obviously deal direct with Devitt, in which case you'll get a very reasonable deal.
Direct with Devitt. It's 47 horsepower is the power limit.
It is.
For the A2 licence, and both of these comfortably fall within that.
Yeah.
So we've got the Kawasaki's got 45 horsepower.
Yeah, almost 46. So they've got it absolutely kind of near the limit.
Yeah.
And we've got 42 with this one, is it?
Yeah. Smaller engine, obviously R3.
Yeah.
It's 321cc. This Ninja 400 is 399. So yeah, they've got it on the limit, as you say. In that
You sure it's 399?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right, okay.
George Bernard.
Okay.
As they say.
Yeah.
So if you're old like me and you,
yeah, we are both old.
We'll remember the Kawasaki ZXR 400s.
Oh,
things like
yeah.
that.
You should dream about them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This isn't like that because this is a parallel twin engine. They're both parallel twins. It's cheap to make, isn't it? The problem is if you make a 400cc inline 4 with 16 valves, double overhead cams.
It still costs the same to make that as it costs to make a 1000cc four-cylinder engine. It's
or
just smaller parts.
Or
so yeah,
750,
exactly.
Yeah,
so the costs are going to be too high.
I mean, those 400s only really survived because of the Japanese laws at the time, back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, that's right.
So people had money to spend, but they were restricted to a 400. So you had quite a fancy range of bikes. There was the FZR 400, RR, SP,
GSXR 250 and 400. There was Baby Blade. There was all those sort of great parallel imports.
Put all those out of your mind because they're a different beast. I mean, they still look quite sporty.
Yeah.
I think that's just it gives the impression if you're sort of young people like exciting things, don't they?
They do, apparently. Although I'd say, the earlier 400s we just mentioned, they were definitely more focused, which in a way is a good thing, but in another way it's a bit of a bad thing because the early 400s, to ride them and enjoy them, you did have to ride a bit like a lunatic.
Yeah.
Lots of revs, focused riding position, not great visibility. These bikes kind of do have a bit of a balance to them, especially for sort of like newer riders.
They're aimed at sort of riders in developing markets as well. So if you're in somewhere, I mean, this is made in... Is that one made in Indonesia?
Indonesia, yeah. I think
they're made in sort of Southeast Asia, and if you're living there, this is kind of like a super bike in lots of ways because the roads maybe aren't up to sort of full litre bikes.
And what you've come from as well. The bikes they'll have come from won't be. These have become more affordable, especially in those, as you say, those developing countries. So
developing markets. Yeah. So they've got over there. It's a sort of mainstream sort of big, and a sort of hero bike to aim for almost. Whereas here, they're more aimed at novices, and that means that the companies can sell them in two quite different markets, but they're always trying to bridge that gap. So they'll have the A2 licence power limit in mind, but they think I need to keep it quite cheap for the home markets.
Yeah, exactly.
But being cheap is good for us as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is
5499.
5499, 5299.
Yeah.
For a brand new bike. It looks $1 million.
Yeah, it's not expensive.
Looks like something off the World Superbike.
Well, they are racing them in the World Superbike paddock, aren't they? I mean, the junior supersport class.
Super Sport SSP 300 or whatever.
Yeah, they created parity by different rules for different bikes. Yeah, first female world champion was on one of these, albeit slightly modified. A bit. But yeah, it's created another class in World Championship racing, which is a good thing. Yeah. And that obviously filters down to the younger rider or the newer rider. You know, looking in the showrooms, it's like, wow, it is a race bike. It's not just a lookalike. It is. It's kind of, they are racing them. So. It's given them a bit of kudos, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So we've got these two. There's other bikes in the sector, but I think these are the two. Is a peak contenders, if you like.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, out of the choice, I mean, there's the KTM, which is a single cylinder, which competes in that championship. Yeah. It's a bit of a different proposition.
That's the RC 390.
It is, yeah. And then there's the Honda CBR 500, which is kind of, I think it has a weight limit and a rev limit to bring it into parity with these.
Honda's supposed to be bringing out a new one this year,
but yeah, you're right. The championship winners over the last 3 years, because they've just had the first 3 seasons, they've been 2 Kawasaki wins and a Yamaha win. Yeah. So these are basically the two best in the bunch, in the breed.
World Championship stuff.
Exactly. So both World Championship winners and both less than $5,500.
So the engines are reasonably high tech, you know, fuel injection, obviously, catalysts, all that to sort of clean up the emissions, twin cylinders, quite different boring strokes, obviously, because this is just bigger, 79cc, more capacity kind of thing, double red cams, 4-valve cylinders, all that kind of stuff. The chassis is, I mean, the chassis looks, at first glance, especially the R3, you think, oh, look at those forks, upside down forks, that's amazing. But they're quite basic when you get a bit closer. Very basic, and there's no adjustment at all. On there. You know, which and it is what it is. It's an entry-level machine, I suppose. Preload on the rear shock, and this is the same as well. So the suspension is quite. Yeah, I mean, you've got provision to adjust the rear shock for your weight, so you can set the bike up if you're, you know. If you're a skinny 19-year-old who's just passed his test, or you're a slightly lumpier middle-aged man like ourselves, you can put a bit of preload on. Or if you're taking a pillion, you know, then you can you know, kind of adjust the shock for that. But stop right along with that. Yeah, but you're not going to really, you know, be able to tune it to. If you were very serious about riding these on a track or something. Yeah, you'd want to make changes. Yeah, you'd go to the suspension specialist and have it fiddled with. But I mean, yeah, they're not really about that, I don't think, on the road. So. No. The frames are both kind of steel tube things again. There's there's nothing fancy about the frames. You're not going to look at the chassis or the swing arm, and you know I've got a bit of a swing arm fetish. But I think of the two, the Yamaha swing arm looks the nicest. Just a box section thing on the Kawasaki. I mean, it's all computer design now, so all the forces will be. Oh, it'll be perfect. Immaculately worked out. Yeah, exactly. The geometry. It's going to work amazingly well, but it's just a cheap thing that does a job. Yeah, it's got a nice set. They've both got nice sets of clothes. Put it that way. The fairings look great. You know, they're kind of in keeping with the bigger models in the ranges. So they look. You know, it's the kind of entry level to that. You know, the next one will be the R6 with this, then the R1. With that, you're looking at ZX6, then ZX10. So the whole family looks there, and they've done it really well, considering it's a fairly budget price bike. I think they've made a really good job of the styling on both of them. It's only when you look beneath the fairing you can see that it's kind of a slightly cheaper proposition. But I mean, brakes is another thing. I mean, I went on the launch of the R3 and the R125. Quite surprised that the R125 has got a higher spec caliper than the R3. It's got, the R125 now has got a 4-piston radial caliper. Right. So I mean, it's a very basic sort of 2-piston sliding caliper on there. Yeah. I was a little bit disappointed when I saw that, actually, because it's kind of. This is the same. It's a different caliper, but again, 2-piston sliding, which is probably the cheapest you could put on there, realistically. So I think it probably is. To sort of, and the thing is, we know from experience with earlier models of both brands that these brakes don't weather particularly well. No, 5 years' time they'll be seized up. The pins will be all corroded, and exactly, they're just not a quality caliper on either. Like I say, when they're new, they probably work fine. But it won't be long before the performance goes off. Both have got ABS, obviously. That comes by law now. Yep, legal thing. There's nothing fancy in terms of leaning ABS or cornering ABS. So it'll be a safety bias setup. Quite nice dashes on them. I mean, this is stuck with like in a big analog tacho in the middle, which to my mind says race, but as you point out, race bikes don't have that anymore. No, older ones did, you know, and I still quite like you see a needle sweeping round, you know, as you sort of like pouring on the coals.
But yeah, the Yamaha has got a really nice, reminiscent, unsurprisingly, of the R1.
Yeah.
Far fewer features on it, but it's still a nice dash. It's easy to see. Should work in different light as well. So when the sun's behind you or in your eyes or whatever, you should always have pretty much no excuse for speeding. So
we don't have full colour LCDs or anything there, but it's a monochrome LCD. But as you say, it's a high quality item. Yeah,
it looks good. It looks expensive rather than just a
cool.
Cheap add-on.
So that's how it all looks on paper with our jaundiced view. So I suppose we should go and see if any of that is allied with reality.
I think we might be surprised at how good these are.
Okay. I was on the launch of that and spent a day on the road and a day on the track with it, and I did quite enjoy it. I think it's greater than some of its parts, but we'll see if you agree.
Yeah, well, let's go and ride.
In the cinema, they would put a sign up saying intermission at this point because we're having a little break, aren't we? It's been a bit horrible.
It was nice
sunny, Bella Day. It says we're doing more on Thursday, and now it's Thursday, and they should rename it Shits Day because the weather's rubbish. It's not that bad.
It's actually been all right. I mean, we've been sort of tazzing around some of the Surrey lanes, haven't we? Surrey roads.
Yeah, whether we like it or not, we've been out having fun.
We've been making ourselves have fun, haven't we?
We've been making most of a bad situation because it is October.
And actually, I've actually quite enjoyed it.
These bikes are not at all bad in these conditions, I would say.
So they're brilliant. I mean, skinny little soft tyres, so they dig into the tarmac and they grip. There's not a ton of power, so you're not going to get yourself in trouble unless you really are clumsy. ABS, so you're not going to lock the brakes up. And the brakes aren't fierce anyway on either of them, not particularly. Better on the Kawasaki, but...
I think that the Kawasaki has by far the better brakes. I think
But yeah, going back to these conditions, they're fairly softly suspended, probably because they're aimed at people who weigh a lot less than us.
Speak for yourself, love.
Well, they are. They're kind of for teenagers, really, and new riders. But yeah, I've had actually quite a lot of fun on them today so far.
I think when we done the intro, we were not concerned, but we sort of pointed out that the engines were moderately high tech, the chassis were quite basic, and it's not been a problem, I don't think.
No, I mean, what you've got to consider is you're not having to rein in a ton of power.
No, true.
I mean, if you give a bike 200 horsepower, you're going to need good suspension and brakes to deal with that, and a good chassis, obviously. I think with these, because, you haven't got those extremes of acceleration and extremes of braking, they don't need to be quite as advanced, and really, unless you were taking it on a track, I think you'd be pretty happy with how these handle. They're not soggy and baggy, they're kind of just they're just supple, So,
Okay. They've made me sort of fall in love again a little bit with sports bikes because we've moved away from sports bikes. You're British biker, haven't we? It's all trail bikes, adventure bikes, naked bikes. But these have got me back into it. Partly because they're a bit soft, I think, so the riding position's quite easy. Because I'm at the back. The back goes.
The thing is,
I'm a creaky old man.
We've done quite a bit of riding in town and stuff, and the thing you notice is that you can actually use the mirrors. A lot of sports bikes, you're so hunched forward that you have to kind of move a shoulder or move an elbow to even see in the mirror, or turn your head. And these, it's it's a fairly upright riding position for a sports bike, really. But not so upright that it feels like a street bike. It's kind of a really happy medium.
It's like a sensible sports bike.
And I think if you're learning to ride and you want to better keep decent balance and keep an eye on what's going on, they're very, very easy for that. There's no kind of extremes with them.
Seats are nice and low. You get your feet down. I can get my feet down. I'm quite sort of stumpy. The weight is quite. Feels like it's low down.
It does. They're really easy to balance at low speed. When you're sort of filtering through traffic, they're really, really easy. They're very, very manageable bikes. Which is exactly what you want if you're new to riding or just want something that's easy going. So.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So we're going to finish our coffee.
Yeah.
It looks like I think the sun's coming out.
It did momentarily pop out.
Is that you?
No.
Are you not 4693?
I'm not 4693.
He's Agent 4693, I thought, but maybe he's not. So we're going to go and do some more miles, and then we'll stop for another coffee at some point, I would think.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll probably find a nice place in Ashton, I'd imagine.
Ooh, imagine.
So we're going to nip past this Citroen. Oh, hear a roar. See, naturally this isn't kind of like where we like riding. In town it's kind of all a bit stop-start, all a bit of a pain to get to the fun stuff, but actually on these bikes, not so bad. The clutches are nice and light, nice and smooth, the engine's really smooth on both bikes. You're not likely to spin it up unless you're really clumsy. And skinny soft tyres, they do work really well on wet tarmac, it has to be said. I'd much rather be riding this in this weather than a ZX10, so yeah. There are worse things to do for a living.
There are certain things you do in a bike which are from the outside look a bit strange, but can actually tell you quite a lot about it. Like wheelies. People say that wheelies are childish and pathetic, but they can tell you quite a lot about the fueling and the engine performance of a bike, can't they?
Yeah, and the balance of a bike and the clutch and throttle control.
Like
yeah, stuff like that, totally,
So are you sticking with me?
Yeah, okay. yeah, sorry.
Similarly, riding in the wet tells you quite a lot about a bike as well, doesn't it?
Tells you a lot about a bike.
Even though it looks a bit rubbish, when you're on the sort of edge of grip and worrying that every time you tip into a corner you're going to end up in the ditch.
Yeah, I mean, I said before, you know, that these bikes, I mean, today's not ideal for riding motorbikes of any sort, really, unless you're off-road. And these are actually really, really easy to ride in the wet.
Yeah.
They're really easy to ride in the dry, but they're really easy to ride in the wet compared to, you know, a big bike with bigger tyres.
Even with traction control, I think it puts you off a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it's just the whole skatiness of those big tyres and a big bike with lots of power and stiffer suspension. These are quite softly sprung. The tyres are skinny, which is actually a good thing in the wet. They sort of find the grip. And because they're not heavy bikes and they're not powerful bikes, the compound of the tyres is quite soft, which is exactly what you want. They're almost like intermediate race tyres in a way. They're not far off, so they're kind of, they're ideal for this weather. Not that this is like the ideal time to go riding your motorbike, it's absolutely filthy, but I'm getting dripped on here. But,
I'm getting dripped on too. But so despite appearances, this is not bad weather for finding out a bit more about the bikes.
No, you get exactly that window of grip comes a lot earlier in the wet, so you get to feel, it's almost safer. You find the limits of the bike a little bit more safely because it's a bigger window of, you know, you think, oh no, you can kind of back out of things a bit easier. In the dry, it's like all good, all bad. Whereas there's a bigger, more room for error in the wet.
Definitely. Earlier on, I jumped off the Ninja onto the Yamaha, and it felt a little bit to me like swapping from an old GSX-R 750 to a GSX-R 600.
Yeah,
you know,
that kind of difference in
similar
performance.
Feel, but at the end you get to almost the same level of performance, but you've got to work a lot harder at it.
Yeah, I think that's really kind of it. You know, it's kind of
the Ninja's easier.
In many ways, yeah. Although I still don't want to completely write off the R3 as
not at all. Not at all. It's a good, really good fun bike.
I mean, if you're going purely on performance, brakes, then the Kawasaki sort of has it really.
Yeah.
But then it's got a bigger engine.
Yeah, it's a bit of a cheat. Not a cheat, but
no, it's a bigger engine bike. I think there's a lot more performance to come from the R3 if you were minded to kind of, you know, get rid of the exhaust and you know. Obviously, the environmentalists would be a bit upset if you got rid of the catalyst, but if you were to do that, I think you'd free up a lot more mid-range.
A stage one tune.
Yeah, it would make big differences to this R3. I mean, if I was, you know, new to biking, just got my A2 licence, 19, 20 years old, either of these bikes would make me a very, very happy teenager.
Definitely.
You know, they're really good bikes, and they look great. I mean, they look like they're
bigger
counterparts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we had a couple of guys come to us earlier on when we were packing up at Rikers and saying, what size are they?
Yeah.
They couldn't work out, could they?
Exactly. They weren't sure what they were. They thought they're not big enough to be 600s, but they didn't think they weren't 500s. So they've got presence, I think. You know? They don't look. They've got a bit of kudos. Quite a few people didn't really know what they were.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I think that they're both a really good option. And I think if more new riders actually rode these things rather than doing direct access and getting straight into a big bike. And maybe get themselves in trouble or just being saved by electronics. If they rode one of these first,
serve your apprenticeship
for a year, you know, they'd probably really enjoy it. You can feel like you're this bike's master. You know, you really, you know, you have to rev it. You have to ride it.
They look the part as well. They look good. They look strong and powerful. And another thing that struck me is with these, you can give them a thrash, can't you? You can. Yesterday when it was drier, you know, you can go sort of 9/10 flat out. And you're much closer to the bike's limits than you are on a ZX10 or even a ZX6 or something. So in some ways that's a bit more rewarding actually, because you're thinking, right, I'm pushing this I've got the throttle to the stop, you know, the revs bounced off the limiter. Whereas on a bigger bike, you're tiptoeing around maybe because you're not sure about yourself.
There's a lot of feel.
Satisfying.
There's a lot of feel good with these bikes. You know, even though today is absolutely abysmal weather-wise, which it wasn't supposed to be. No. I'm going to blame that Carol lady off the BBC. So anyway, she got it all wrong.
I don't care what the weatherman says when the weatherman says it's raining, because he's just making it up.
Exactly. So today hasn't been a great day, but I've actually had quite a lot of fun, and I don't think I've had anywhere near as much fun on a big bike.
Yeah. So which one would you have, Rob?
It's a tricky one because I like the look of the R3. I like the fact it's got upside down forks.
Yep.
I like the style. I like the styling of the whole R series. You know, the R6 and the R1. I think they look amazing.
There's a family thing
and
on
this
there,
is a kind of really good step into that.
Yep.
But if it was purely about performance, then I'd have to go for the Kawasaki because it's got a stronger engine, it's a bigger engine, so it's got a stronger engine, it feels a bit freer revving as well. And the brakes are so much better on the Kawasaki. Again, you could do something about that with the Yamaha.
Yeah, you could have a fiddle.
You're probably not going to want to. So, so the Kawasaki has it by nose. But, you know, that said, I wouldn't be too upset if I was 19 years old and Father Christmas brought me an R3. I'd be a pretty happy chap. So.
I agree with you on the R3. It's a very sort of strong little bike as well. I think I'm thinking is Yamaha going to do something about that? You know, they've got a 321cc sort of knife and a 399cc gunfight here, kind of thing. And I mean, Kawasaki made the leap last year to a whole new engine, because the Ninja 300 they had before was based on it went back to the GPX 250R almost, you know. So.
Hang on a minute. I'm going to stop.
No worries, mate.
Anyway, where were we? So I think it would definitely be the Kawasaki for me.
Yep.
But it's not as, although in terms of performance that is quite a bit faster than this one.
Yeah.
The brakes are quite a lot better. It's still not a massive gulf between the two, you know?
No.
So.
There you go. Yeah. Shall we go home?
I think we should.
Shall we keep Britain biking, but go home?
Biking.
Go home just now till the rain goes off.
Yeah, I think you should.